Close your eyes for just a moment. Imagine Britain in the 1960s, a nation reborn with enormous pride, purpose, and unmistakable ambition. The motorways were steadily expanding, the post-war economy was finally shifting upward, and on every gleaming forecourt sat saloon cars that truly meant something. These were machines built with polished walnut dashboards, deep leather seats, and chrome that caught the morning light like fine jewelry. Executives drove them. Families dreamed of owning them. And one, just one, would go on to define an entire era of British motoring forever. Stay with us, because number 1 genuinely changed everything. Number 10, Wolseley Six One Ten. The Wolseley Six One Ten. Even the name carries a certain quiet gravity. Built between 1959 and 1968, this was precisely the kind of saloon that senior civil servants and chief constables chose without hesitation. Beneath its long, formal bonnet sat a 2,912cc six-cylinder engine producing around 120 brake horsepower, smooth, unhurried, and entirely purposeful. A 4-speed manual gearbox came as standard, with an optional Borg-Warner automatic for those preferring effortless progress along the new motorways. The interior was a genuine sanctuary, polished walnut veneer, thick Wilton carpeting, individual front seats wrapped in real hide leather. It was, in every sense, a drawing room on wheels. Wolseley had long been associated with the police force, and many motorway patrol cars in the early 60s used this very model. But there was something else about the 6110 that buyers rarely discussed openly, the feeling that driving one announced your arrival before you even stepped outside. And this countdown is only just warming up. Number 9, Humber Super Snipe. If the Wolseley was refined, the Humber Super Snipe was outright commanding. Produced from 1958 through to 1967, this was among the largest, most imposing saloons that Britain built during the entire decade. Under the long, chrome-laden bonnet sat a 2,965cc six-cylinder engine, later expanded to 3,000cc, delivering smooth, torquey power of around 128 brake horsepower. It was offered with a 4-speed manual or an optional Borg-Warner automatic gearbox, and the ride quality on the new motorway network was extraordinarily composed. The Humber name carried genuine social weight in 1960s Britain. Government ministers rode in them. Senior diplomats chose them. The interior was lined with deeply figured walnut, real leather upholstery, and a dashboard that felt borrowed from a private gentleman's club. It was also offered as an estate, which only extended its considerable appeal. Would you have bought one of these back in 1962? Because many very important people did. And just ahead, things only get much more interesting. Number 8, Vauxhall Cresta PA. Now here is a saloon that did something very few British cars dared in the late 1950s and early 1960s. It looked genuinely exciting. The Vauxhall Cresta PA, built from 1957 to 1962, wore its tail fins and chrome with remarkable confidence for a car assembled in Luton. Beneath the bonnet sat a 2,262cc six-cylinder engine producing around 83 brake horsepower, later uprated throughout the model's production life. A 3-speed column change gearbox was standard, with an optional Hydromatic automatic for those seeking something more relaxed. The Cresta was available in bold two-tone color schemes, with bench front seating and even a wraparound windscreen, touches that felt startlingly fresh on British roads at the time. It represented a more aspirational, stylish vision of British family motoring, and Vauxhall sold them in enormous numbers. Can you imagine arriving at a country dance in one of these in 1961? Because the Cresta always made an entrance. The next car made a bigger one. Number 7. Triumph 2000. Few saloons in the 1960s arrived with the progressive confidence of the Triumph 2000. Launched in 1963 and designed by Giovanni Michelotti, this was a car that looked like nothing else on British roads at the time. Its crisp, clean lines and perfectly proportioned four-door body gave it an almost continental elegance. Beneath the bonnet sat a 1,998cc straight-six engine producing 90 brake horsepower, paired with a 4-speed all-synchromesh manual gearbox that was a genuine pleasure to operate. Independent suspension all-round made the 2000 a revelation to drive on winding British roads. Inside, the passenger environment balanced restraint with quality, understated walnut trim, well-padded seats, and a clearly legible instrument panel. Triumph had set out to create a compact executive saloon that matched European rivals, and they succeeded admirably. But the truly remarkable thing about the Triumph 2000 was how it redefined what buyers expected from a British family saloon. And even that wasn't the end of its story. Number 6. Ford Cortina Mark I. Not every saloon on this list was born in the boardroom. The Ford Cortina Mark I, launched in September 1962, arrived from Dagenham with a very different kind of ambition, one rooted in practicality, genuine value, and sheer unashamed sales success. Ford engineers built it around a 1,198cc four-cylinder engine in base form, with the popular 1,498cc unit offering a more spirited 60 brake horsepower for family buyers. The Cortina GT arrived later with twin-choke carburation and 83 brake horsepower, genuinely quick for its class. A 4-speed gearbox and light, highly responsive handling gave it real driver appeal. But the Cortina was far more than its specification list. Over 1 million were sold by 1966, making it Britain's best-selling car. Families loved it. Fleet managers loved it even more. And the legendary Lotus Cortina, with its twin-cam engine and competition pedigree, cemented it as a genuine British icon. But the real surprises on this countdown are still very much ahead. Number 5. Austin 1800. By the middle of the decade, British Leyland's designers were thinking in ways that surprised even their most confident rivals. The Austin 1800, launched in 1964 and known affectionately as the Land Crab, was the work of Alec Issigonis, the same remarkable genius behind the original Mini. It looked unusual, even peculiar to some, but the engineering beneath was extraordinary. A transversely mounted 1,798cc B-Series four-cylinder engine driving the front wheels produced 86 brake horsepower, while the hydroelastic suspension delivered a ride that genuinely astonished long-distance motorists. Inside, the 1800 offered space that embarrassed many far more expensive rivals. The rear legroom was remarkable. It was space-efficient beyond any British rival. The Motor magazine voted it Car of the Year in 1965. Not everyone appreciated its alien appearance, of course. But those who drove it regularly came to understand something important: this was a car that was decades ahead of its time. And what comes up next is something else entirely. Number 4. Rover P5 3-litre. There are cars that transport you. And then there are cars that genuinely transform you. The Rover P5 3-litre, introduced in 1958 and refined throughout the 1960s, belonged firmly in the second category. This was the establishment saloon, chosen by prime ministers, driven at royal engagements, and trusted by those who had earned the right to travel with absolute dignity. The 3.0-litre straight-six produced 115 brake horsepower, mated to a Borg-Warner automatic that delivered near-silent progress along any road. The low roofline gave the P5 a surprisingly elegant silhouette for such a large car. Leather and Wilton carpets came standard throughout. When the 3.5-litre V8 arrived in 1967, borrowed from Bic and carefully modified by Rover, the P5B became genuinely quick, 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 11 seconds in a car weighing nearly 2 tons. Prime ministers rode in these. The Queen herself used one. And yet 3 very significant cars on this list still surpass it. Number 3. Jaguar S-Type. We are now entering the territory where good becomes exceptional. The Jaguar S-Type, produced between 1963 and 1968, arrived as the bridge between the legendary Mark II and the larger Mark X, and it was arguably one of the most handsome saloons Jaguar ever created. Borrowing its sleek fastback tail from the Mark X and its compact, elegant front from the Mark II, the S-Type found a visual harmony that was genuinely difficult to fault. Under the bonnet sat either a 3.4-litre or 3.8-litre version of Jaguar's famous twin-cam XK engine, both paired with a 4-speed manual gearbox or the optional Borg-Warner automatic. The 3.8-litre produced around 220 brake horsepower, Remarkable figures for a refined saloon in 1963. Independent rear suspension gave it handling refinement far beyond its price point. It sold over 24,000 units during its production run. And yet many buyers at the time overlooked it entirely in favor of its more famous sibling. That legendary sibling is coming very, very soon. Number 2. Rover P6 2000. There are moments in automotive history when a car simply changes the conversation. The Rover P6 2000, launched at the 1963 Earl's Court Motor Show, was one of those moments. European Car of the Year for 1964, the P6 was unlike anything else Rover had built before, a technical tour de force dressed in beautifully restrained sheet metal. The 1,978cc four-cylinder engine produced 90 brake horsepower, but the real story lay beneath, a base unit body structure with bolted-on outer panels, all-disc brakes on all four corners, and a Dion rear axle setup that gave handling entirely alien to conventional saloons. The interior was a masterclass in ergonomic thinking, deeply influenced by aircraft cockpit design. The P6 sold in enormous numbers, attracted attention from every motoring publication, and earned Rover an entirely new generation of admirers. It was modern, it was brilliant, and it was proudly British. But it simply could not quite match what was coming up next. Number 1. Jaguar Mark II. And so, we arrive, number 1. The car that defined a decade, dominated a generation, and earned a place in the soul of British motoring that has never been challenged. The Jaguar Mark II. Born in 1959 and perfected throughout the 1960s, it is one of the most beautiful four-door saloons ever produced, anywhere in the world. The twin-cam XK engine came in 2.4 litre, 3.4 litre, and the magnificent 3.8 litre form, producing 220 brake horsepower from a silky, rev-hungry straight-six that seemed too exotic for a family saloon. A 4-speed manual with overdrive or the Borg-Warner automatic completed a drivetrain of effortless character. Wide glasshouse, slim pillars, and low roofline gave the Mark II a visual drama that few cars of any era can match. Police forces chased criminals in them. Bank robbers drove them to escape. Executives ordered them in racing green. And even today, 60 years on, the Jaguar Mark II still stops traffic. This was British motoring at its breathtaking finest. And there you have it, 10 iconic British saloons that captured the soul of an entire decade. These were not merely cars. They were rolling declarations of engineering pride, craftsmanship, and national ambition at a time when Britain was finding its voice again. From the stately Wolseley to the legendary Jaguar Mark II, each of these machines left a mark that no amount of time can fully erase. Which one would you have chosen? Let us know in the comments, we read every one. And we will see you in the next video.